Grand Rising, just. This is a follow-on from the one that I did yesterday, which would make tomorrow the 1st of July. In the last post, I was talking about shame and something else that makes people seek to blame and shame, or blame others for, I don't know, I can't remember actually, to blame others for their having to come to terms with what it is that they already knew and were, yeah, sorry, I was yeah, anyway, hopefully I will link it to link better in a minute. Actually, I probably won't use this bit, I'll probably chop it off. So ARC, True Brit, it is a continuation from yesterday. Why some of these things were done wrong, stupid, but also, yes, I was talking about the concerns that I have about how people are going to react and how people are reacting and responding to the obvious lies that we've been told, but how we've continued those lies and or continued to be, what's the words I used yesterday, apologists and supporters and defenders of evil and wickedness, knowing full well it was evil and wicked, but encouraging people to be evil and wicked and punishing those who don't, by blaming them for being a victim of persecution, and how the persecutors are now turning themselves into the victim. And I was using Pfizer as an example, the report that's come out by Pfizer reporting all the adverse effects. That's what I was talking about yesterday, reporting all of them, which, you know, and I was talking about feeling validated and vindicated for the things that I've been saying these last 6 years at least, and if not before. I remember talking about similar sort of ways and behaviour that might occur as a consequence of Brexit, as an example. You know, people using the language of the 1930s. Now people are acting and behaving as though it was the 1930s in some instances. Politicians, the general public, institutions, and now we're beginning to realise the impact, I suppose, of the delusion that we've been living, knowing full well it's a delusion, but hoping to continue the delusion to the bitter end. Today's post really is, hopefully it's going to be a short one. I'm trying to get it thought out, but I always seem to, and then I start recording and then I lose my thread. So I'm going to go back to birthright citizenship and and that executive order. Here we go. The executive order that Trump signed. People think that Trump's got no influence over here, or in the West, or in Europe, or NATO, and he quite clearly does. All of the American the Trump's party, the people that are running the show, as it were. It's not necessarily the Republican Party, but it's the Republican Party who voted Trump in to select the people that it selected to do the things that they have done and are promising to do. So What's it got to do with the price of eggs at the minute? Okay, right. Birthright citizenship. Birthright citizenship. Right, okay. I mean, there's been talk about that over here, and some what they're now calling asylum seekers are going to have to repay, and that's people that have come here. You're not calling them illegal immigrants. All of a sudden, the language just changed. Anyway, having to pay back £10,000. That's what I was going to say. Having to pay back. That's a bit of an aside. And they are talking about potentially seizing the assets of asylum seekers that are here illegally. Yeah, calling them asylum seekers. I mean, immigrants that are here illegally, the ones that have come on the boats and made money and do whatever it is that they're doing, come through your nail shops, barber shops, car washers, etc., from all over the place. And just to sort of say, in terms of a bit of true Brit news, there is South Africa. The indigenous and aboriginal of South Africa are wanting all basically illegal immigrants, that people that are there illegally, on which there are a large number of, out of the country. And they're sort of saying, well, okay, we can do that as long as you don't kill anybody. Basically, that's what the government is actually saying. You have your right to protest, and we're hearing what your protests are. But they are deadly serious. They want them out, because the impact of that cheap labour is that it's put the natives, the indigenous and aboriginal, the sovereigns of South Africa, at a disadvantage, which we all know about, and which is called apartheid. That's what apartheid is. It's disavowing the people that were born, raised there, their land rights there, they go back there for centuries. They've been disavowed of their ability to be able to run their own affairs, and they've been conquered essentially and colonialised, and the colonists have brought in all these other people from all over the shop to do their bidding, to do what it is that they wanted to do. The conquerors, what they want them to do, therefore disavowing the people, of putting them into impoverishment, which is the same thing that's happened across the Western world, the so-called Western world, but absolutely with all the colonised countries, and also within Europe too. That's exactly what's going on here. So the natives can't get a job, can't get healthcare, can't get access to the things that they were promised, back in the, after the Second World War rather, with the setting up of the NHS, where it was called, it's called the, I don't know what it was called then actually. It was a National Health Service anyway, but it didn't become the NHS until 1990 odd. Or they set up all these trusts up and down the country that are also now in difficulties, upon corporate manslaughter charges, etc. So, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that birthright citizenship, blah 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 blah. Trump's done that, and all right, yes, that's right. So people are not recognising who Trump actually is. Not only is he the commander-in-chief, right? He's the commander-in-chief of the Army, Navy, and all the rest of it, but he's also commander-in-chief of the major corporation that protects all the other corporations that have been set up since 1947 and before. So the rescinding of the doctrine of discovery is an example that a lot of people have missed. This applies to here in the UK in particular, but also the rest of Europe. So on what Trump is doing, as I mentioned before, is dissolving the corporation that is the United States. And I'm going to put something up in this post actually, which states when a particular action is done, it has a net effect on all the judiciary across all corporations. So as an example, Nigeria is a corporation, Canada is a corporation. These are all set up by the British over a series of years, they started to develop, set these corporations up, with the East India Company as an example. These are all fronts for colonising and takeover operations. So that's what I wanted just to say there, actually, and I might do a third part to this, because what did I want to say about the implications of what it is that Trump's doing? It's going to roll over to the UK. It's applicable to the UK, is what I'm sort of saying. So all the things that are going on in the States, and all the policies, this is what they're being resisted, if you will, by Western governments, France, Italy, Germany, and the UK in particular, because it takes down their operation, which has clearly had at its core the trafficking of human beings, and they've been doing that, and basically getting people to work for them for nothing, and they reap the wealth and the value. It's been a fraudulent activity. It's been a fraudulent endeavour, which is in which they've used genocidal operations, and like COVID as an example, which is, again, there's lots of reports that are coming out now about the validity. This is why I feel vindicated and validated in some respects by the things that I've been saying for a long while, because that's the cause. Those activities have trickled all their way down to me, but now they are spreading everywhere, and a lot of people are now experiencing what it is that I was talking about and what it is that I've experienced back in 2022. And as I say, I mean, there's more to say about that, but in terms of the implications. But I was going to say that one of the things that I believe that people are, I know that people are going to need to do, is to be able to prove they are who they say they are, and be able to prove that with physical evidence. You know what I mean? And anecdotal evidence for people to demonstrate that they are who they say they are. I'll say more about that later on. Till the next time, may your ERP and your spirituality remain strong. I'm gone.